The letter arrived on a cold November morning without a return address. Emma Dawson almost threw it away. She stood at the kitchen counter staring at the faded envelope while rain tapped softly against the window. Bills, advertisements, and useless paperwork usually filled her mailbox. Nothing important ever arrived anymore, not since Michael died. Her fingers paused when she noticed the handwriting. It was familiar, painfully familiar. For a moment, her heart stopped beating. No. She whispered to herself, "That is impossible." With trembling hands, she slowly opened the envelope. Inside was a single-folded piece of paper. The moment she saw the first line, tears filled her eyes. "If you're reading this, then I'm gone." It was Michael's handwriting. Emma collapsed into the nearest chair, unable to breathe. Her husband had died 3 years earlier. She remembered every terrible detail of that winter night. The hospital lights, the sound of machines slowing down, the way his hand felt colder with every passing minute, and now somehow a letter from him sat in her hands. Outside thunder rolled through the sky while Emma forced herself to continue reading. "There is something I need you to do for me. Tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Go to the old lake. House. Go alone. Trust me one last time. Love always, Michael." Emma stared at the words for a very long time. The old lake house. No one had mentioned that place in years. It sat abandoned nearly 40 miles outside town, beside a quiet lake where she and Michael once spent every summer after they married. After his death, Emma could not bear returning there. Too many memories lived inside those walls. Too much love. Too much pain. Yet now this letter had awakened something she buried deep inside. Herself. Questions. Hope. Fear. She barely slept that night. Every memory of Michael returned with painful clarity. The way he laughed while cooking breakfast. The way he always reached for her hand during thunderstorms because he knew she hated lightning. The way he smiled even during the worst days of his illness, trying to comfort her while he was the one dying. Emma had spent 3 years trying to survive without him. Not live. Just survive. Work. Sleep. Repeat. The woman she once was disappeared the day Michael closed his eyes for the last time. And now this letter felt like a ghost knocking at her door. The next evening, Emma drove through heavy fog toward the lake house. Her hands tightened around the steering wheel the closer she got. When the old wooden cabin finally appeared through the trees, her chest ached with memories. Nothing had changed. The porch still leaned slightly to one side. The wind chimes Michael built still hung near the front door, moving gently in the cold air. Emma stepped out of the car. Slowly. The lake behind the cabin looked perfectly, still reflecting the gray evening sky. For a moment, she almost turned around, but then she noticed something strange. Light glowed inside the cabin. Her breath caught. That was impossible. No one lived there. Heart pounding. Emma walked toward the door. It creaked open before she could knock. Inside the cabin looked warm and alive. A fire crackled in the fireplace. Candles flickered softly across the room, and sitting at the old wooden table was a little girl no older than 7, quietly drawing pictures with colored pencils. Emma froze completely. The little girl looked up and smiled gently. Hi. She said. Emma stared in confusion. Who are you? Before the child could answer, footsteps approached from another room. Then an elderly man appearing, 2 cups of tea. His face softened the moment he saw Emma. "You came," he whispered. Emma stepped back cautiously. Who are you people?" Old man set the tea down carefully. "My name is Walter Bennett. And that little girl is my granddaughter Lily." Emma looked around the cabin. "Why are you here?" Walter hesitated before speaking. "Because Michael asked us to be." The room fell silent. Emma felt her knees weaken again. "How did you know my husband?" Walter slowly sat down. 3 years ago, my daughter and son-in-law died in a car accident. Lily survived, but she stopped speaking afterward. She barely smiled, barely ate. Doctors said grief had trapped her somewhere they could not reach. He looked lovingly toward the little girl, drawing quietly. Then one summer day, Michael found us sitting outside a hospital. Emma listened silently, unable to understand where this was leading. Walter continued. Michael was already very sick by then. But somehow he spent hours talking to Lily every week. He would bring crayons, books, little gifts. Slowly she started speaking again. Emma covered her mouth as tears formed in her eyes. Walter smiled sadly. Your husband saved her life. Emma looked at Lily, who now shyly held up a drawing. It showed a man standing beside a lake, smiling beneath the sun. Michael. He told me this was his favorite. Place, Lily said softly. Emma could barely speak. Why did he? Send me here. Walter reached into his pocket and handed her another envelope. Michael gave me this shortly before he passed away. He told me to wait exactly 3 years before mailing the first letter. Emma opened the envelope carefully. Inside was another message written in Michael's handwriting. My beautiful Emma, if you are standing in this cabin right now, then you did something I prayed you would do. You kept going. I know losing me broke something inside you. I hated leaving you behind. But before I died, I realized something important. Love does not end when someone disappears. Real love leaves pieces of itself behind in other people. I need you to know that while you were taking care of me during my illness, I was trying to leave behind as much kindness as I could before my time ended. Walter and Lily became part of my family. And now I hope they can become part of yours too. Emma wiped tears from her face while continuing to read. You once asked me what scares me most about death. It was never dying. It was the thought of you being alone afterward. So promise me something. Do not close your heart because of grief. There's still life waiting for you. Still people who need your kindness. Still moments capable of making you smile again. And when you finally laugh without guilt, I hope you know that somewhere, somehow, I will be smiling too. Forever yours, Michael. By the time Emma finished reading, the room blurred through tears. For years, she believed grief was something to survive alone. But Michael had spent his final days trying to build bridges between broken people. Even after death, he was still taking care of her. Lily slowly walked toward Emma holding another drawing. This one showed a woman standing beside the same lake. I think he wanted you to come back here, Lily whispered. Emma looked at the drawing, then toward the lake outside the window. For the first time in years, the pain inside her chest did not feel empty. It felt connected to something larger. Something beautiful. That evening, Emma stayed at the cabin for hours, listening to stories about Michael. She had never heard before how he volunteered at hospitals during treatment, how he secretly paid for medicine some families could not afford, how he spent his final months helping strangers because he believed kindness outlived death. As night settled over the lake, Emma stepped outside onto the porch alone. The cold wind brushed softly against her face. For years, she had begged the world for one more moment with Michael, one more conversation, one more goodbye. But now she realized something extraordinary. Michael never truly disappeared. He simply left pieces of himself everywhere he went. Inside Lily's laughter, inside Walter's gratitude. Inside every life he touched with love. And perhaps that was what real immortality looked like. Not being remembered for greatness. But being remembered for kindness. Emma looked up at the stars beginning to appear above the lake. Then, for the first time since Michael's death, she smiled without sadness consuming it. Months later, the old lake house no longer sat empty. Emma returned every weekend. Sometimes with Walter and Lily. Sometimes alone, but always with peace growing quietly inside her. And every year on the anniversary of Michael's passing, they gathered beside the lake to light small lanterns across the water, not to mourn the man they lost, but to celebrate the love he left behind. Because some people leave this world quietly, yet the goodness they plant in others continues blooming long after they are gone.